Hi. So, as I've explained previously in some of my videos, nothing gets past jaw-like intelligence. Now, I've shared, you can go through my videos, you can go through my Twitter feed or what have you, and you'll see that repeatedly from August onwards, when there's been talk of a general election, I've repeatedly stated, no, can't have any general election. We're dealing with a criminal government. They're corrupt. They're agents of foreign powers. Boris Johnson and his whole cabinet have to be evicted from number 10, interim government, investigations, then you can talk about having a general election. But you cannot run a general election run by a criminal government that has abused its powers and has already previously run a criminal Brexit campaign and also a criminal general election before that in 2017, in 2015, the criminal corrupt Scottish referendum. Already know, I wrote it all out in proposals to pause Article 50 in May. It was sent, and more recently it's been published Intel for Brexit, which shares a link to that report. I'll leave you the link under this, explaining in no uncertain terms that Brexit is a financial affair. It's about giving money to rich oligarchs throughout the world, whether they be Russian, American, corporations, Russian oligarchs. Also, very strong Zionist interest in there as well. And this is about fascism. It's about removing all the social progressions and advances that we'd made since post-World War II, and basically breaking down Europe as a free trade union that upholds all the rights and values and principles which America is right now demolishing, is barely operational in Russia, not operational at all in Israel, and we've got the Greater Israel project going on in the background there. Absolute blatant crimes, never mind Russia wanting to take over Estonia and Ukraine. What's going on in Palestine is just outright vandalism, crimes against humanity, theft. I mean, you're talking just rampant criminal activity. And this world's global situation has got worse, and it's crept upon us by stealth, as every predator does, because we're dealing with a consciousness here, a cabal, in which there are many players of different faiths, different nations, but they've all got the same vested interest of exploiting their own populace and the populations and resource of each other's nations as well. So, you've got a pack of wolves there with their own power struggles going on inside that top circle, but at the same time all of them thriving, all of them with very similar objectives, because fascism has one objective, which is basically to abolish the law for themselves. They are the ones that are going to set the laws. So, one person's told, you're a slave. Another person's told, oh, you're going to be my concubine. Another one, oh, I want your children. Those kind of laws, which aren't laws. They're just self-given rights for a criminal elite to commit as many crimes as they like. They're free to do as they like, because they're powerful, and that's Luciferian law, stroke criminals law, which is basically the bigger and more powerful you are, the more free you are to do whatever you want to do. And one can just hope that maybe a few of these do actually have a conscience somewhere and actually want to do good. But unfortunately, most of them don't want to do good. They're raised in a culture, and it's a self-sustaining, self-maintaining culture of that upholds all these so-called values and principles of this criminal elite, this criminal class, who raise their children to look down on the bulk of humanity as inferior somehow, and that somehow they have been born with a universal right to rule over everybody, and they cannot do any wrong, you know, so whatever their desires are. And obviously that kind of mentality does encourage various psychosexual diseases, sexual addictions, a tendency towards sadism, all kinds of things come into play. And we end up fighting huge world wars. We thought we'd defeated that fascist consciousness, but actually we hadn't. It just had to meld back into the shadows, and it's operated by stealth, and that's how a predator works, because you see, they consider themselves the top of the food chain as the carnivore, and the rest of us are essentially their cattle, and occasionally, you know, they'll come and eat us, fleece us, let us do the work, and then they come and reap the profits from our work, because we are there just to serve them. And if they decide that we're surplus to requirements, then they'll just dump us. And yeah, we can starve, die of disease, maybe they'll kill us off with a disease. This is their mentality. They are absolutely crazy, of course, because as I've stated previously, you only have to look at what they say, you see, and what they do. So what they say is that they support a philosophy of this idea of a superior race, you know, a super race, an Aryan race that represents the most perfect genealogy of humanity. But actually what they do is create the kind of technology that fundamentally destroys our genealogy, and even the genetics of plants and other creatures on our planet through things like nuclear power. You see, they say one thing, but look what they do. You see, that's what we need to look at, is what do they do. Forget what they say. Most of what they say is a pack of lies, because it has to be, because otherwise, if people really knew what they were about, not one of them would be in a position of power. But people don't know what they're really about, because they believe the lies, they believe the money that they surround themselves with, and the wealth, and the media, and just the whole thing, and people are mesmerised by it, and even themselves think of themselves as inferior, and think of these people as superior, because that's just the way they've been conditioned. People have been conditioned, and as a society we have been conditioned since World War II to view Russia as an enemy nation. So it's very convenient for Russia to be placed back into that role. You see, that Russia, yeah, enemy nation. And people in the West especially can connect with that. Americans can connect with it. British people can connect with it. The Europeans can connect with it. That, yeah, it's Russia that is the threat. Now, I'm not saying that Russia isn't a threat. I know Russia has got its rogue elements. And yes, rich people of every nation do usually have direct connections to governments. That's the way it works. It certainly works like that in Britain. According to the City of London, has got government right there on its lap, you know. So that's no surprise to find out that Russian oligarchs have direct connections to Putin. But I think the Russian oligarchical interest in Brexit and in Britain is, yes, to get rid of the rights, maybe break down the EU, though the EU is a source of lucrative income for Russia as an entity. You know, Russia's right now doing deals with Germany to sell gas, and there's all kinds of things going on that I'm not really buying the story about Russia secretly wants to see the whole of the EU broken up, and so they can get on with taking over Estonia, you know, because these oligarchs have that much money. Russia has that much wealth. Really, they don't need to take over Estonia in the same way that the Israeli authorities are taking Palestinians' lands. They don't need to be engaged in such blatant barbarism. But the savages who are committing these barbarous, heinous crimes in the lands of Palestine, they need a distraction. They need a distraction from what they're doing, because they control the money. They control the world banks. They've got those Russian oligarchs every bit as much in their pocket as Netanyahu has Donald Trump tucked into his top pocket. All of this is Zionism behind the scenes. Zionists working through Russia, using Russian resources, human resources, using their methods, their underhand methods of blackmail. I mean, there's every evidence. According to the evidence we know from a reliable source that Epstein was working for intelligence, very likely Mossad intelligence, and rogue elements within the CIA, and rogue elements within MI6 in Britain. We know that these rogue intelligence do operate between each other, and they have infiltrated. Because like I say, that's how the predator works. But, you know, I'm here to explain to you people at the top that you are not going to get away with that, you see. You might think that you win. You might win. You might get it through and have your way and have your fun, but you've lost. You've lost everything, because you've lost your very soul. And that's what I'm here to explain, you see. Because that is not the way. You will lose even this planet. You've got no future. Because the only way now is for all the people that are involved in this plot at whatever level, because a lot of people, you know, the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing. But once you wake up to this plot, understand this is your supreme supremacists, your absolute top far-right fascists, who do call themselves Zionists, who have usurped Judaism and duped and conned and coerced a lot of Jewish people to stand with them. But there's a very large majority of Jews that do not stand at all with Zionism and condemn what is being done in their name, because, you know, and all this stuff about it's anti-Semitic to condemn Zionist atrocity, and indeed their whole philosophy, in which does basically is founded on absolute racism and sexism, but absolute racism actually. And no, we cannot tolerate it. It is intolerable. Europe will not tolerate it. Now, as far as I understand, Russia, for whatever faults it may have, isn't fundamentally a racist nation, you see. But that mentality is very strong in a lot of Europe and in America especially. And that's what's being fed on in America. It's being fed like a wolf, okay? Same going on here in Britain, being fed EDL with direct connections not to Russia but to Zionism. And that is who I believe is controlling these Russian oligarchs, that they are also beholden to Zionist interests. Just in the same way that we know that ISIS now has been trained by the same intelligences. This stuff that went off with Khashoggi, you know, his horrific murder, and, you know, that was blamed on the Prince of Saudi Arabia, but I have very strong suspicions that somehow their intelligence networks were infiltrated. The people that carried out the task, yeah, they believed that they'd been ordered by the Prince to do this, but it was to put him in a difficult situation, that, oh look, world opinion could turn against you like that. Now you're going to do what we say. Yes, you're going to give us this much money, you are going to come to heel. So, you know, there's all kinds of stuff going on that, like I say, universal intelligence understands it all, can just understand it. And I can share it because I'm connected to it, not because that intelligence is me, but because I have a connection with it. It has for some reason connected with me to share absolutely brilliant information, actually, that will improve everybody's life, whether they're an oligarch or the poorest person on earth. But it seems that the world isn't quite ready yet to hear that information, because they don't understand what severe, terrible problems that we're facing right now, and that we are on the very brink of losing our entire planet. And people can't quite get their heads around that, especially not the people who are in the positions of the most power to actually do something to turn this situation around. And that's the people of the so-called developed world, of the Western nations, who have actually been manipulated and controlled to actually create the damages, to allow the creation of the damages that have been done, because we've been continually exploited. So all the education and intelligence that we've gained through the progression, the social progress that was made after World War II, with the rise of free education and science and innovation, and all of the technology that has been created as a direct result of the social improvements within a democratic socio-capitalist societies that Europe is. Now they want to take the social out of it. They want to take the progress and scrap the social, because that's the carnivore mindset. And it's like, oh yeah, we can have total control, 5G, and we're going to have this big, what is it, like, digital intelligence network that's going to be, where is it, located in Tel Aviv, apparently. Netanyahu's been talking about it incessantly. These are the things, this is the level of madness we are talking about, literally, Orwell's 1984. I mean, even that seems quite tame when you compare it to the reality of what we are facing. And we're talking about such powers of technology that they have very close now at their disposal. It is even the ability to manufacture their own children through their factory machines, to be raised by robots to do what? For what purpose? People might say, oh, well, you mad, of course they wouldn't use the technology for that. What are we talking about here? We're talking about people who are using the kind of technology that is right now killing the Pacific Ocean because of 3 nuclear meltdowns that apparently were never going to happen and they can't deal with, and they're destroying our Pacific Ocean. So please don't tell me not to take this as far as it could go, of what they could do with their technology and what they're capable of, because they are capable of actually using nuclear power and even using it to experiment on the Japanese people. as they did with 2 atomic bombs exploded and just incinerated thousands of innocent men, women and children. To see, and then they sent in their armies of nurses and doctors, you name it, scientists, to study the impact of the damages, and thereafter took over Japan, and oh hey presto, Japan has 53 nuclear power stations on it all of a sudden, all of them corporately controlled, while the people are managed by a puppet government, a corporate puppet government that to this day is still lying to the people about what happened at Fukushima. So, you know, we are in a very, very bad situation, and all these oligarchical, nonsensical games with your supreme supremacists and what have you, they've got to stop. Your stupid plan is stupid because it is lawless, because you people are lawless. And to the people of Britain, yes, Russian oligarchs are involved in Brexit, in our referendums, you name it, through intelligence agencies, but they are themselves like the left hand of the same Zionism that is openly controlling our politicians and American politicians, but is accepted as a friend because, you know, we're going to just ignore what they're doing to Palestinians because the Palestinians are Muslim and they're evil, aren't they? And, you know, while the whole of America is absorbed in what's going on with this impeachment thing with Trump now, you know, and Britain's absorbed with what's going on with Brexit, and Europe's absorbed watching between the both of them, and then there's the Russia threat, but meanwhile Israel's just getting on. It's another day in the killing fields, and the crimes are getting worse, and it is horrific. It's horrific to think in the 21st century, with all the technology we have, the amount of media attention that we have, that they can get away with it. Just blatant murdering to steal land. And we know that they're very heavy focused on Gaza because Gaza has got an abundant natural resource of gas, hasn't it? That Israel very much would like to take control of, and has actually stepped in really to prohibit Palestinian people from being able to do any deals with anybody so that they could actually get an income from it, because no, it's all going to go to Israel, and Israel will not settle until they've got the whole of Gaza. They've been bombing the place with depleted uranium. Iraq's full of depleted uranium. Who's going to pay for the damages? These damages are going to be ongoing. It's got a half-life of, what is it, 5 billion years or something. Depleted uranium. Damages the unborn even, for generations. Fundamentally damages DNA. You know, there's some serious shit being going down with these people. And really, it makes everything else in our ordinary little worlds that the majority of people are living in right now. You wake up and you realise you've been living in a children's fairy story. But I'm here to say, yeah, it's bad news. It is bad news. But it's also good news. Because we can turn this around. We can get this sorted out. We will step out of these crazy characters that we've all been conditioned and programmed into becoming and playing in this world into our universal being. Understand the problems, face up to reality, understand the problems, and be determined to resolve those problems. And the answers are all there. You know, hemp is the mainstay. Silver for a new technology. We're going to have to create a new economy. Nations are going to have to work together. Yes, we're still going to be independent nations. We're going to have our various faiths. But we are going to work together and enjoy our diversity. Because our diversity is for us to enjoy. That you can leave your country and go and visit another country and be in a completely different culture and interact with people and have different ways of looking at a problem. It's an enrichment, not something to be afraid of and afeared of. You know, the planet is a small place today. We all know each other by now. We all know that we have the same type of criminals in every society. We have the same type of masterminds in every society. The same type of beautiful people, creative people, people who need help. We all understand that in every society, you know, crime isn't a unique feature of a particular race or culture. So we need a unity, like the unity of a rainbow. And that's the example, and that's why Yahweh, universal intelligence, gave us that as an example, you know, as a symbol of the covenant. That when we can read that rainbow, when we understand the significance of why the rainbow was given for a covenant, is the key to understanding why it is important that we understand where we are today from the ground up, you see. Not coming, oh, God in the sky, you know, we're going to pray to God in the church. There's no point of that universal intelligence if it isn't actually connected within the living spirit of humanity and active within it in the here and now on earth, you see. Because the world we've built is not reflecting a heaven, is it? It must be a pretty hellish kind of a heaven. But the rainbow leads us into that heaven, that it shows us, look, all these colours are of one light. And you can see each colour holds its own naturally. It doesn't be within the natural law of the universe. Because that's the law, that the light shines as a prism through the rain. The life of earth, the life waters of earth. And naturally the colours each hold their own. There's never going to be a risk that the blue's going to take over the green or the green's going to take over the purple. There is no need for sharp dividing lines between every colour to keep them in their respective places. These are things that we don't need to worry about. These are paranoias, and yet when we look at it, at the core of the problem, that is what they use to divide and rule. To say, no, the rainbow does need walls between each colour, actually. And, oh, if we don't have these walls and these divides, then what's going to happen is the blue is going to flood in and take over the green. You know, this is madness. Because it's a fear that isn't based on any reality. But the people that live with these fears and live with these judgments of superiority, that one race is superior to another, they're the ones that make this madness real. Because that is exactly what they do. They think, they fear the crime that they actually commit. Because it was a crime what happened to the Native American people. It was a crime what happened to the people of Australia, the people of Africa, the people of New Zealand. It was a crime. And it is a crime what's happening to the people of Palestine right now. It is a crime. and what's been happening to the people of Britain. Because it isn't that, as I say, we're all the victims of this consciousness. But we have a child to deliver into the future. Now, is that child going to be born out of these madmen's monstrous factory machines, or are they going to have a living mummy and daddy and be born into a sane world that's controlled by sane people? So, you know, and that's my final word. Like Britain, as one of the most influential and powerful nations on this planet, with such potential to deliver wonderful, positive changes in many countries, because we are an old established power and have the influence and the credibility to do it, to help every nation. That's why what's going on here today is very important for many nations. And what happens in Britain, and it's come right down to the microcosm of an election in Britain, and who wins that election. And right now it's not looking safe, people. I still say cancel it. Make the necessary arrests. Security services, do your job. Stand by the law. The law will not let us down. The laws that were written to prevent fascism, to establish democracy, to prevent the rise of fascism, not to facilitate it. As the predator operating by stealth, camouflaged by the BBC, camouflaged by the Sun newspaper, camouflaged by a political party, by money, by whatever. But we can't be that stupid. If we're that stupid, we won't survive as a species, because our prime function on this planet is intelligence, and that is ultimately to protect and defend the life of Earth, and to cherish and nurture the life of Earth, and to be a god for the life of Earth, not some horrible rapist, demonic monster. And the law is right equals might to live as thy will. Right. The righteous shall have the might. That's the law. Not might equals right to do as thy will. All you big and mighty people, you have no right to do as thy will. If you're wrong, and you are all wrong, in the way you're going about everything, you're so wrong. And it will lead to doom and destruction. And for yourselves, you've got your children have got no future, your grandchildren have got no future. That's the fact of it. It isn't about what's true and what's false. It's about reality and the facts of reality. You're at the edge of a cliff, you're going to fall off, you'll break your bones, you'll die. That's not a punishment, that's reality. We choose our own destiny. As the people of Nineveh shown, even a prophecy can be altered if we don't like it, if we don't want it. We can choose. So, you know, I hope that somehow I've managed to express here the length and breadth of the rainbow in that sense. As to how important it is that to this very moment in time, what's Britain going to do? Are we going to use the law? Are our security services going to finally come to the rescue and arrest Boris Johnson and his cabal at number 10? Because they're there to defend and protect democracy and our economy and Parliament? Or are they going to stay a useless, well, where are they? Basically non-existent. and so we're going to go ahead with this general election. Well, all we can all do is vote for Corbyn, because he is the only sensible, sane person among the lot of them. I certainly don't trust Joe Swinson. I don't trust anybody, actually, whose hero is Margaret Thatcher, a woman that worshipped Pinochet. You know, sorry. No, let's wake up to reality, people. Please. So we've only got one choice, reasonably, is Corbyn. What can we do from there? And we need to reach out to each other in a spirit of love and humanity, because everybody on this planet is a reflection of the universe that created us. Every life form, everything on this planet is the most precious thing in this universe that this universe has created. The gold and the crap being churned out by these corporate factories, we can do better. We can do better than what they've been messing around with. We can do better than that. And we need to move forward in a spirit of love, a spirit of amnesty. Like I say, hate the crimes, be angry about the lies and the subterfuges, but let's not hate each other. Let's not hate the people. Let's operate with understanding, amnesty, forgiveness. And yeah, you know, unfortunately some people might need to be incarcerated because they're so crazy. But not in a spirit of punishment. You know, we need to lose this idea of punishments. We do what's necessary, what's needed, what's required. Because we've got a future generation to raise. We've got a child to raise.